Recently, I mentioned a Bloomberg survey asking Americans what would they buy if the US defaulted, where the answers were number 1, gold, number 2, Bitcoin, and number 3, cash. Now, this was music to my ears since I have been a gold bug my whole life. I grew up in the 1970s, and I have been a Bitcoiner for going on a decade. So since I am at Bitcoin Miami, it seemed like a good time to talk about gold and Bitcoin. I will talk about cash, but that's complicated. I'll save it for another video. In short, if you're looking for a disaster hedge, I think always start with gold and ease into Bitcoin as you are more familiar with it. I personally own both. So first, let's lay out the threat. Despite the happy talk, the data says we are headed for a 1970s-style stagflation paired with bank runs, dysfunctional governments, and debt levels that are 40 to 80 times higher than the 1970s. So it seems worth hedging. Now, in the 1970s, gold was the star, soaring 16-fold on the decade. Note, inflation merely doubled. And by the way, when the decade opened and Nixon closed the gold window, prestigious economists were united in confidently predicting gold would go down. Even the great Milton Friedman, who was super on most economics but knew nothing about money. So if, in fact, we are headed for a super 1970s scenario, we might expect gold to go up a lot. Maybe not 16-fold, but it argues for gold being a very good hedge. And that brings us to digital gold, Bitcoin. I have been a fan of Bitcoin for a long time, and the reason is that it is intentionally built to function like gold. Bitcoin's creator was clearly a huge fan of gold, and Bitcoin has an even more limited supply, which is gold's fundamental superpower. Yet, Bitcoin is even more invulnerable to government than gold. After all, FDR did seize the gold, and any country could do so at any time. Plus, Bitcoin can actually be used in a modern economy without intermediaries. For example, you can use Bitcoin to buy stuff online, which is very difficult with a physical gold coin. At best, you would have something like a gold-backed Visa card, which governments can very easily control. So put them together and Bitcoin structurally acts like gold, but one that is truly independent of government control. And this is why anarcho-capitalists, for example, love Bitcoin so much. Still, if you are new to Bitcoin, you need to ease in because Bitcoin also fluctuates a whole lot. It's basically gold squared, and it can double or drop by half in a matter of weeks, and that will probably be the case for a long time, possibly decades. Now, this is very exciting when Bitcoin's going up, but it's also very scary on the way down. So until you truly understand Bitcoin, the risk is you will panic, sell on the dip, and get wiped out. So if you are new to Bitcoin, ease in, buy a little bit, like $100, play around with it a little bit, read about it, and don't put serious money in until you understand it, basically until you are in love with it. So whether it is gold or Bitcoin, I think those who do hedge the coming storms will be just fine, so long as they pay attention to history and the reality around them, not what these so-called experts tell us. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.